upgraded and let it move and actually make it push to annual one.
No, I think yes, maybe. I just got
Yeah, call you on this, yeah?
no. Let's give you this one.
Wait, yeah.
You know, just that the one.
From IT?
Yeah. You call me.
Everybody stand up.
stand.
Hallelujah. Please join me as we give God thanks for today. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we invite your presence this morning, dear God. Father, we are asking, oh God, that you come here and be liberated with us, oh God. As all these presentations are made, dear God, that is to the benefit of the members of the gatherings, for the job services, and all concerned. Oh gracious Father, I pray, dear God, that each presentation is accepted and that there are fruitful deliberations, dear God. Give each presenter the strength to present in a clear and concise manner what has to be presented. And to those of us who are listening, help us to understand, dear God. Father, I ask this in all the name of your Savior. And I pray, dear God, a special blessing on each and every one of us today. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. May I call the children to be followed by us all of our
Let's all bow our heads and close our eyes. Om Sri Guru Charana Sarora Nijamana Mukura Sula Parano Ragupala Vimajasu Joraya Palachar Punyadina Taram Janike Sumiro Pavana Kumar Balabudi Vidya Devumani Alam Pare Vikash. O Lord, of the purifying marrow of our soul, you who is the giver of dharma, wealth, desire, and salvation, we are invoke you, please, can you provide us with strength, good sense, knowledge, and destroy all sorrows and shortcomings. You are the remover of all kinds of hazard, and fill me of auspiciousness. Please dwell in our hearts forever. Lord Krishna said, and I quote from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, God is the best listener. You do not need to shout nor cry out loud. It is hears even the very silent prayer of a sincere heart. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Allahu Akbar. Verily mankind are lost, except he is patient and promotes righteousness and joins one another in doing good deed. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. You may now have your seat. Your Excellency, Acting President, Brigadier Mark Phillips, the Honorable Brinley Rosenberg, Minister of Home Affairs, Commissioner of Police Acting Yasser Hobby, Heads of Services, the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier Dr. Beth, Presidents, Commissioner Acting Nathan Elliott, Fire Chief, Tommy Edu, representatives of the National Intelligence and Security Agencies, Customs and Anti-Narcotics Unit, representatives of the Guyana Revenue Authority, SOFU, National Security Advisor Gerald Guyana, Deputy Commissioners, Acting of Operations, Clifton Higgin, Administration, Calvin Brutus, Law Enforcement, Wendell Brown, Assistant Commissioners Simon McBean and Edward Thomas, other senior officers of the Guyana Police Force, facilitators, presenters, members of the media, good morning. Before I proceed, just a few housekeeping matters. We are operating in a pandemic, and so we must continue to follow the guidelines. Please remember to keep your masks covering both the nose and mouth when in close proximity to each other. We're in an enclosed room with circulated air. And while it will keep us cool and dry for the day, I trust the officers of the Parliament will intermittently open the heavy curtains and doors to allow air to escape the chamber. Please also remember to wash, sanitize your hands regularly. Today, the Guyana Police Force marches on new ground with the hosting of its inaugural Integrity in Policing Symposium. The mere mention of the word integrity brings along with it its closest family in the acronym TAR. Converted, they stand for transparency, accountability, and responsibility. These all lead to credibility. My father, a retired commissioner of police, and I often had discussions on the disparate treatment of citizens who had to interact with members of the force for one reason or another. I myself have been on the receiving end of hostile treatment until I would identify myself as being the son of Leroy Brown, whatever rank he held at that point in time. And in the blink of an eye, I do not know it. amended, adjusted, or skewed to shift the balance in favor of one person or group. This must be taught and installed as a separate subject area in the Felix Austin Police College, FAPC, my humble suggestion. But it must also be practiced from the top down. So there is a clear indication and direction to the rank and file, balance, fairness and accuracy, key tools of my trade as a journalist. The same is required of every member of the Guyana Police Force. The force often talks of becoming more visible. The fact is, it has always been visible. But the reality is, the spotlight has been harsh. The light so bright and blinding at times that the force withdraws into the shade. Some officers tackle it head on. Others stay silent. And it's this silence that brings the concerns of cover-ups, accusations of an uncaring force, and the negative perception that the force hides the truth. It is critical to change this perception. My job is simple today. I get to tell some of the most powerful men and women in our beautiful land sitting in this room here today that you only have 10 minutes to speak and that you're on time. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Leroy Ramo, your chairperson for the day's proceedings. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Commissioner of Police, Acting Nigel Hoppy, a graduate of the University of Guyana. He has outstanding experience, spending a number of years in the finance department where he rose to become finance officer. He headed up a special branch before ascending to the post of Commissioner of Police. Today, the Commissioner addresses the challenges faced by the Guyana Police. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you very much, Master Ceremonies. Acting President, retired Brigadier, Honorable Prime Minister Mark Phillips, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs, Ms. Natiswan Jr., Police Legal Advisor, Mrs. Joseph, other members of the legal fraternity, National Security Advisor, Mrs. Eric Bayo, Director of NISA, Mr. Omar Khan, Acting Chief of Staff, Mr. Julius Keith, and other members of the heads of the discipline services, Deputy Commissioner of Operations Acting, Deputy Commissioner of Admin Acting, Divisional and Branch Commanders, officers and other ranks of the Guyana Police Force, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Permit me please to add my own voice in welcoming you to this inaugural in Police Symposium, Integrity in Police Symposium hosted today, and to say that this activity is very necessary and timely at this juncture of the Guyana Police Force. The Guyana Police Force, the premier law enforcement agency in the country, is community-minded, intelligence-led, results-driven, and has so far given 182 years of noble service to the citizen in the execution of its mandate of maintaining public safety and security. The mission of the Guyana Police Force and its auxiliaries is to serve and protect all citizens and communities of Guyana in a professional, proactive, and accountable manner. To achieve this, we've been working in partnership with communities, government institutions, public agencies, private bodies to enhance and support an environment where all people are assisted in the prevention and detection of crime and the building of a safer and secure Guyana. The foundation for a successful policing plan is the synergistic collaboration of the government, law enforcement agencies, and the citizenry. The vision of the Guyana Police Force is summarized as follows: recruitment of suitably qualified persons for the force, recognizing our people is our most important asset. Development of our staff with the right skills to undertake their role effectively in the context of modern policing. A more professional and police force driven by increased public expectations, increased and appropriate use of information technology across the Guyana Police Force to improve service of delivery. Generation and use of accurate data to support intelligence-led policing, use of measurement, monitoring, and planning techniques to deliver effective and efficient police services, provision of suitable premises that support modern police practices. In working towards the maintenance of our mission or vision, we aim to recognize and respect all human rights, work with all communities to develop policing services necessary and appropriate in those communities, build partnerships with all sectors of the Guyana society, including commercial and voluntary groups, work to deliver community policing program in conjunction with community policing groups, improve working relationships with other agencies within the justice sector and with government departments to improve interagency collaboration, enhance working relationship with regional and international law enforcement agencies, and develop the capacity of the police force through appropriate training, access to modern equipment and technologies, and adherence to established and recognized standards to better serve the people of Guyana. Public trust and confidence remain important to policing policy and practice as they encourage active citizenry participation in police community initiatives, secure public cooperation with the police, and compliance with the law. Public trust and confidence are most likely to be engendered through the action of police ranks with interfacing with members of the public, where ranks must demonstrate core values that are inherent to the characteristic of good and responsible policemen and women, among which is integrity. Sadly, some of our ranks do not exhibit the desired quality. Problems of police integrity. If I should start by saying discourteous and unprofessional conduct of some frontline ranks. And some frontline ranks engage members of the public in an impolite, unethical, and disrespectful manner, which result in dissatisfaction with police services. There's also the use of abusive language and hostile approach by ranks when interfacing with the public. When effecting arrests, ranks at times would use indecent language and physically harass suspects or perpetrators of crimes and other breaches of the law, even in situations that are sometimes aggravated by the citizens, that police still ought to be calm and civil in those situations. There's some cases of excessive use of force by ranks. The excessive use of force relates to the uncalled for manhandling and abuse of suspects of crimes and other breaches of the law. There's also the unlawful withholding of the documents of motorists. Ranks involved in traffic enforcement unnecessarily withhold, for example, driver's license and other related documents in breach of standing instructions to the contrary. Unprofessional response to responses of crime. Upon receipt of a report of a crime, some police ranks inform the reporter or the reportee that there is no vehicle or police ranks available. In other instances, they fail to take report of a matter occurring in another station district, where in actual fact they should send transit reports to the station district directly concerned. Use of public office for private gain, and it's straightforward, it's accepting bribe or gift from citizens for policing services. misconduct in public office, ranks who commit fraudulent acts, embezzle public funds, or dereliction of duties, etc. Undesirable responses to reports of gender-based violence. Ranks would sometimes urge reporters to resolve the matter with the abuser rather than adopting the laid-down procedures. Treat reports from male victims in particular as a sort of joke, laughing at the reporter. The Guyana Police Force has conducted numerous training programs that focus on core values in policing and take disciplinary action. In some cases, criminal charges are brought against members of the force who have been found to be in breach of the existing policies relating to the force and the law. Notwithstanding, there are some underlying circumstances that appear to adversely affect the fostering of this intrinsic characteristic. Challenges to upholding police integrity. Limited accommodation for ranks. Given the last increase in the police force's establishment, and in keeping in view the further proposal, while the government has been very active in the infrastructure development of the force, through rehabilitation and construction of police stations and buildings, there is still need for additional accommodation for ranks, especially those stationed away from their home district. COVID-19 pandemic. This has led to curtailing or restricting of some available training, which has affected skill and competency development. It has also affected the recruitment drive. Low-level entry requirement. The present entry requirement is a sound primary education. This should be reviewed to a higher level. Reviewing of our SOPs to guide policing operations. Standing orders and SOPs need to be revised and amended in keeping with the best practice and international standard of policing. Our commitment to police integrity. The Guyana Police Force is committed to setting and maintaining the highest standard of integrity in the force. It is important to ensure ranks uphold values of the force, strive to do the right thing in all situations, and have the confidence of the public. The loss of integrity does not only involve corruption and misconduct, but also includes how well the police make decisions, deal with situations, and treat with the general population. If the public distrust and perceive the police as being unprofessional and unethical, they will be less inclined to cooperate and assist the police force in the conduct of its role and responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner of Police Nigel Hoppy. In my introduction, I inadvertently missed the Permanent Secretary of the Ministerial Home Affairs, Ms. May Thomas. Oversight of the Guyana Police Force is being done by the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is managed by Minister and Member of Parliament Brindley Robeson Ben. This is his first full-time stint as head of the security sector. A geologist, Minister Ben in his previous role served as Minister of Works. Today he looks at a new policing paradigm. Please welcome him as he comes to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency, Acting President, Brigadier Mark Phillips, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs, our National Security Advisor, the Acting Head of the Guyana Defense Force, the heads of the other discipline service, the fire service, prison service, the Deputy Commissioner of Operations and of Administration and of Law Enforcement, Mr. Blanham, the heads of the Keynote, the heads of NISA, the heads of the Special Branch, also our National Security Advisor, Mr. Jerry Uvaya, commanders, invitees, particularly the members of the Guyana Police Force, of course, legal advisor and others. I want to say first off that this is not an opportunity to excoriate the Guyana Police Force. What we have in coming into the ministry is to have a period of introspection and perspectives in relation to where we are in relation to the very important question of policing. And when we speak about the questions of integrity in policing, it also goes over to the other services, the fire service, the police services, the other agencies related to the overall general issue and question of security. When I speak again of introspection, I want to flag an understanding that we should have, that we have a particular history, a legacy in our country, which relates to questions of genocide, questions of slavery, questions of indentureship, questions of being made to be disdainful of each other, and that we live in a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial country, and that we need to take account of the different roles our different groups and our people have in our country, Guyana. And the fact that we now own Guyana for ourselves, and that we are still developing, that we have gone through difficult periods, but that we are joined at the hip and that we cannot live without each other. And that we know this very well because we have grown up in situations in the communities where we have looked after each other's children, we've sat on the same school benches, we've read the same books, we have eaten each other's foods, we have married and commingled and related with each other to the extent that there's a smoothing of the Guyanese mixtures, because there's a large number of people who now identify themselves as mixed. And I would still say I'm mixed, though people may not want to believe it, because I have Amerindian and Portuguese and Caucasian, and if you look at the extent of my relations, they're even Chinese in it, mixed up. So we cannot separate ourselves from each other. And we have the important mission of securing ourselves, protecting the national sovereignty. And the bulk of it falls to the police. We have to recognize, and I referred before to an article in the Keynote News some time ago, where they spoke about issues related to the Guyana Police Force, challenges, some of which are quite normal for other jurisdictions, but for us perhaps more torrid or toxic in many ways. But importantly, I think it identifies for us at this point in time to make a great leap forward in respect of how we could improve the relationships between and amongst ourselves and improving policing in Guyana. It's a great challenge. I think it's an honorable mission that we have the vision of the police force, its motto of service and protection, which is relevant to all the other services and agencies, but particularly important for identifying how we secure ourselves. When we speak about the multicultural makeup of our country and the question of how we really identify how we move on the question of integrity going forward, is the question of diversity. The fact that the agencies, the police and others should reflect Guyana. The fact that communities of all kinds should have participation in being policed. And that each and every community, person, ethos, have an opportunity to share the load of developing and moving our country forward and making it sustainable and safe. We should not have different groups or certain groups carrying too much of a load in respect of the work that they do in developing the country or securing ourselves. When that happens, they lose opportunities in other areas, perhaps to be like the rest of the country. We should not have situations in which communities feel that they're not simply being policed, or that persons who come to the communities are not necessarily there to support them and to look after them, but there are questions of extortion, there are questions of bullyism, there are questions of whether we can really speak or peace or truth with those who come, or whether those who come really understand what the situation is. So, when we talk about questions of integrity moving forward, we have to speak about diversity related to empathy, more than sympathy, empathy, and an understanding of the communities and our country and where we want to go forward together. We need to move away from what appears to be sometimes a situation where, you may recall when they had the nuclear disarmament talks that the big powers went at some time, where we barely avoiding mutually assured destruction. And that we're, even this morning coming out, and my apologies for being late, but we encounter regular, normal breaking of the law. That is normal to break the law. And sometimes when we do assessments, and I know that there has been some reviews, some gathering of data in respect of the question of how well we're doing, there was a suggestion that we should pat ourselves on the back when perhaps 60% or 50% of respondents say that they have no problem with the police and that things are good and fair. But by any normal, reasonable and rational standards of measure, questions related to crime and violence should have success rates, should have benchmarks which indicate that they only occur for 7%, 10 to 7% of respondents, that they have concern, that the question of trust, the question of confidence, and those issues are along those measures. as we go forward, I say the police, in the first instance, the question of policing relates to the police, men and women themselves. That there is a question of improving our leadership and having greater integrity in leadership at the command level, at the level of accounting. We spend so much money there in many ways that I believe it could be better spent improving the welfare, improving the salaries and conditions of police. That there's a big room, a big measure, if we tweak and massage and are more accountable and sanctions are applied, that we could better use the resources which are provided by the government. The government is very conscious, of course, and we at the Ministry of Home Affairs are very conscious of the challenges related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we would rather not have situations where people feel they need to scuffle and scramble with the police when the police are trying to bring a situation to prevent and to save the population from a spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the relationship on the ground, it seems in many instances, is one where people are disrespectful, not wanting to behave, are unruly, and that it becomes a laughing matter on social media. But we want our police to be respected. We want our policing agencies to carry out the job for which we are paying them to do. We want to be able to support them in this mission. And we want to strengthen the culture which is embodied now in the police force in terms of operational activities, how they're led, how they are commanded, and how they're supervised. And which is why we need to do measures. We need to do measures. We need to take measures. We need to make sure that we improve the question of the intake, the quality of the intake, beyond the question of diversity. But as the Commissioner of Police would have just mentioned, that a sound primary education itself is not necessarily best measure for joining the police force, but it might be more a question of a sound secondary education. And I'm aware that people are even coming with degrees to try to join the police force. But there are some barriers which we have to look at in relation to bringing in new people, to have the new police that we speak of. The discussion we are undertaking today is the first of a number of activities, engagements we are undertaking to bringing a situation where we speak of having a situation of increasing the peace in Guyana, increasing the peace in Guyana. And our question of increasing the peace relates to the police firstly protecting itself, the policemen and women protecting themselves. It doesn't help if I go to a police station 3 o'clock in the morning and everybody's sleeping, or some are having a joy time. They are unprotected, they are at risk, and they could be severely impacted to the distress of the entire country. So for me, supervision at the middle level is extremely important. The question of outreaches, of visits, on-the-spot checks are extremely important. The question of having sanctions applied in a fair, non-discriminatory manner are extremely important if we want to bring about a change in what we expect and what the public expects of us. The government, even while we've had the challenges of the pandemic, has been providing a lot of resources, supporting a lot of training in respect of policing. We've just had the Interpol here, training on the questions of firearms. In terms of our measures, we have to be able to identify and establish how many firearms we should get off the streets. When we bring ourselves to the point where our homicide rate is not the fourth highest in South America and the Caribbean. At 40 for 100,000 population, I think is the last number I saw. How do we knock down those numbers to positions and points which are sustainable? How do we avoid issues of corruption and undermining of the police work by drug traffickers, persons who presumably have a lot of money, and persons who think they are the Rambo in the communities and the villages, and they think they could buy off any and everyone. These are big challenges, but we have to do this together. I know it is doable. I'm aware that there are very good police forces that we have in the system, that the capability is there, that the collaboration across the various agencies, the police, the army, the prison service, and others, in spite of all the challenges, that collaboration across agencies is extremely important, that we work properly with the community policing groups so that we have actionable intelligence from the communities to work on, and that questions of our response to the intelligence and the other information which are brought to us, that those are acted upon in a timely manner, and that we track these things every year, perhaps at a meeting like this, in terms of overall integrity, and particularly that we come up with an integrity and ethics plan for the Guyana Police Force. We need an ethics and integrity plan, and that we note the benchmarks against which the performance indicators which we put, how we measure up against them every year, and what we have to do to get to the positions we need to improve. So, I want again to say that we're not here to beat up on each other. Have the kind of discourse which would see us personally, individually, and as units, stations, and as organizations improve the way we do our work. I said that we need to continuously put down 10-point plans at every level, indicators, and we identify how we improve on those indicators so that we have a culture of continuous improvement. We have to, again, separate our work in terms of what we do for improvement, for a new paradigm. We have to go back to professional work. Our work is not personal in itself, it is professional. The politics, the discussions, and all those things aside, our work is a professional job. And our professional job is identified in the ways it should be done by the Constitution, by international conventions, and our other arrangements which we have signed to, and for which we need to pay keen attention to. We need to love each other perhaps some more. We need to have in our pickups, as I've said to the Commissioner of Police, medical packs if somebody's injured, or even if we found ourselves in the position of shooting someone in the leg or wherever, that we give medical attention on the spot. We need to do these things. We're no longer in an era where we beat each other. We don't want suicide in the police stations. We don't want beatings. We don't want insults and abuse. And I say again that I want in each and every police station the ability to record the engagement between the police and the public, both audio and visual. And that we give out merit badges and other ways of acknowledging very good performance of police units, stations, and police individuals. And that we have a better approach in respect of dealing with the questions of domestic violence, violence against children, and that we engage with the communities in a preventative and a proactive way to avoid a descent into chaos, and for some communities, for the chaos. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Minister Ben. As we move along in our program, I'd like to re-invite to the podium Commissioner of Police Nigel Hoppy as he introduces Acting President Brigadier Marshal. Commissioner.
Thank you once again, Mr. Munir. I return to the podium here to just to conduct a very significant aspect of the program. And so it's an honor and privilege to serve you. Brigadier Mark Anthony Phillips was sworn in as the 9th Executive Prime Minister of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana under President Dr. Mohamed, by President Dr. Mohamed on the 2nd of August 2020. He served as the Chief of Staff of the Guyana Police Force from 2013 to 2016. Brigadier Phillips holds 2 postgraduate diplomas, one in Advanced Defense and Security Studies from the Inter-American Defensemen College in Washington, D.C., and another in Defense Studies from the United States Army Command and General Staff College in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. He also earned a Bachelor of Social Sciences degree in Public Management from the University of Guyana and a Master of Science in Public Sector Management from La Pontificia Universidad Católica Madre y Maestra in the Dominican Republic. He was first employed as an acting teacher at the Linden Foundation School, then as a laboratory analyst at the Bauxite and Alumina Labs of Guyana in 1980. In December 1980, he joined the Guyana Defense Force as a officer cadet and traveled to the United Kingdom for military training on the Standard Military Officers Course number 26 at the prestigious Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, in September 1981. Trained in Brazil, he served as a Special Forces officer and is an accomplished parachutist and jump master. Thereafter, he held appointments as tactical and operational levels of the Guyana Defense Force and retired as Brigadier and Chief of Staff in October of 2016, having served in excess of 36 years. He is a recipient of the Military Service Star, the highest national military award in Guyana. Immediately following his retirement in October 2016, Brigadier Phillips was inducted into the International Hall of Fame of the United States Army Command and General Staff College, Kansas, USA. This honor is bestowed to graduates who have achieved the highest military office in their respective country. Brigadier Phillips was chosen as the running mate for the People's Progressive Party presidential candidate Dr. Mohamed Arfan Ali in 2020 general and regional elections. On August 2, 2020, the PPC was officially declared the winner of the 2020 general and regional elections, and on that same day, Dr. Mohamed Arfan Ali was sworn in as the 9th executive president, and as his first official act as president, he appointed Brigadier Mark Phillips as Prime Minister. He also served as first Vice President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Following his appointment as Prime Minister, the Honorary Brigadier Phillips was assigned the following portfolios by the President: Energy Sector, Civil Defense Commission, Information Sector, Telecommunication Sector. Brigadier Phillips, as Prime Minister, also sits on the Defense Board of Guyana. Brigadier Phillips is married and has 4 children. Sir, it gives me great pleasure to invite you to the future church. Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Commissioner, for your words of introduction. Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Rommel. Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Robeson Ben. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Home Affairs, National Security Advisor, Chief of Staff, Chief Fire Officer, Director of Prison, Head of NISA, Head of CANU, Senior Officers of the Guyana Police Force, civilians, friends, well-wishers, members of the media, all protocols observed. I think I have the easiest task today. But first of all, let me apologize for His Excellency, President Dr. Mohamed Arfan Ali. He's on the program and he should be addressing you today instead of me. However, our President had to depart Guyana for Scotland to be part of the Conference of Partners 26, COP 26. And everybody should be familiar with that term by now. Because at that conference, the heads of states and heads of government from many countries in the world will be discussing the future, not of Guyana, but of the world. So you understand what is important for the President to be away from here. However, I am honored to represent His Excellency at this conference. And as I said, my task is simple. According to the program, expectations of the government. So in 2 minutes I can tell you about the expectations of the government and I can depart. But I think you want to hear more from me. So let us start. Expectations of the government. The government of Guyana expects the Guyana Police Force to perform its primary purpose, that is maintenance of law and order in Guyana, to the best of your ability. That is what we expect. You know chapter 1601 better than I do. I am not going to come here and repeat chapter 1601. However, I took a quote from the Discipline Services Commission report. And it says simply, the discipline forces play a vital role in ensuring the well-being of the state of Guyana and ensuring and maintaining political stability in a democratic constitutional framework and in promoting social safety and security, which cannot be measured with an economic yardstick. That came from the Discipline Forces Commission. When I say that we expect you to perform your role in the maintenance of law and order in Guyana to the best of your ability, we're not speaking only for the government of Guyana. We're speaking for all the people of Guyana. And before I go on, let me use this opportunity to congratulate every member of the police force for maintaining order in Guyana for 182 years. The history of Guyana as a state is linked to the formation of the Guyana Police Force. The Guyana Police Force, that I think Minister Ben mentioned, is perhaps the most powerful institution, the most powerful organization in this country. And if you go back and read about the history of the Guyana Police Force, it was the most powerful force in this country. The Commissioner of Police, as far as I'm concerned, especially in the pre-independence period, was the most powerful man in Guyana. Because in addition to being Commissioner of Police, my limited knowledge of the history of the police, and I don't know much about the police force. I've never served in the police force. But the Commissioner of Police was also the Chief Fire Officer, the Chief Immigration Officer, and the Chief Prison Officer at one time in this country. And they were also responsible for the defense of Guyana before we had a Guyana Defense Force. And that's why I said the Guyana Police Force must be congratulated. Every one of you must be congratulated for the work you did in the Guyana Police Force. 182 years. Without the police force, no Guyana. And that's simple. My government, the government that I represent, is committed to doing everything within the confines of the budget, so to speak, to improve the Guyana Police Force. Because you want a well-equipped police force, you want a police force that is high-performing, a police force that will contribute to a high state of citizen security throughout Guyana. Issues of pay, as Minister Ben mentioned, issues of welfare, conditions of work, equipment of the force, scholarship for members of the force to improve their professional capability are all issues that we are committed to dealing with as they are presented to us by the Commissioner of Police. And by extension, the same thing goes for all the other services. The Guyana Defense Force, the Guyana Fire Service, and the Guyana Prison Service. So, you have the expectations, and you have from me the commitment of my government. However, I've served 36 years in the Guyana Defense Force. I've worked closely with the Guyana Police Force and with the senior leaders of the Guyana Police Force. Some retired, like Mr. Bromell's dad, and some are still serving. So, let us move away this, me being Prime Minister and Acting President, and see me as a colleague who served and who understand the challenges in the security and defense sector of Guyana. Today's conference, Inaugural Integrity in Policing Symposium, very important, integrity. And integrity is important for every organization, every public organization here. And I say this because if you're a member of the police force, you're a public officer. You're involved in the delivery of a public good. or service to the people of Guyana. See some people making notes. So, you cannot deliver a public good to one set of the people and another set of the people not enjoying it. When you deliver a public good, it's for all the people of Guyana to utilize it whenever they feel like. So, security, citizen security is a public good. When you're out there fighting crime in Georgetown, you're also fighting crime in other parts of Guyana. If you fail to improve the security situation in Georgetown, other areas, other people, other parts of Guyana are affected. And that is the reality. Just open the papers and you can see the letters. Look at the surveys. The Latin American Public Opinion Survey, and I think some of your presenters will go to that survey. And that survey, over many years, has been stated that the Guyana Police Force is scoring low in trust and confidence of the people of Guyana. So, you're maintaining law and order in Guyana. You're working towards ensuring that we have a good level of citizen security, but nothing is perfect. Because people continue to contribute their views to the surveys. People continue to write letters in the papers about their dissatisfaction with the work of the police force. And perhaps that led to us having this conference on integrity. And integrity has to do with leadership. All of you are leaders today. All of you in the police force, you're in a position of leadership. And I wish to also mention that even the constable is in a position of leadership. You know, in the Army, the Guyana Defense Force, I thought as a second lieutenant, the most powerful command that I could have given was to fire. You know, when I say fire, the soldiers fire. But then when you look at the police constable is more powerful than me. You want to tell me why? Anybody want to tell me why? I'll tell you why. The police constable, after he's trained, he's sent out on the road to do policing. Is that so? Huh? Answer me. Is there a corporal with him all the time? The answer is no. He's out there, he's exercising a lot of power out there on his own. And he has the authority to utter what I consider to be the 4 most important and most powerful words in law enforcement. Anybody can tell me the 4 words?
You're under arrest.
You are under arrest. Think about it. And perhaps, again, that's one of the reasons why we gathered here today to discuss integrity. Because if you're exercising power, it's important that issues of responsibility and integrity be ingrained in your psyche from the first day that you enter police training school. Equally important for the fireman, the prison warden, and for the Guyana Defense Force. So that's what I'm saying. Integrity is all about leadership. And I'm happy that today we're having this symposium to deal with integrity. Guyana, as you know, you've been following the news, is the most talked about country in Latin America and the Caribbean, and possibly in the world today. If you look at any investment magazine or article, especially one that is talking about oil and gas, it's difficult for you not to see the name Guyana featured. This is a destination for investors, a destination for investment. No longer Guyana is about potentials. Guyana is the land of opportunity right now. And you, the police force, has the most important task, and that is to create that secure environment, to foster investment in Guyana. Very important. And issues of corruption will affect how we do that. And don't fool yourselves. Every public official in Guyana is faced with these proposals, these corrupt proposals, at some time during your career. Integrity, your integrity, will determine how you handle issues of corruption when you face during your career. Integrity, I mean, you could Google it. Everybody can Google now. And I know the presenters coming after me will go into more detail. But simply put, the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. If you Google it, that's what you do. Integrity. And then, you know, we latch on honesty, and it becomes honesty and integrity. People we can trust. That's what we look for in leaders. Keep your word. Be true to your values, and people will follow you. That came from my military training. It was very important because as leaders, as commanders, all of us, when we assume command, immediately we create what you call a command climate. And the command climate that you create will determine how successful your team, your division, or your force will be. Very important. You must create a climate, as some of us will call it, a no-nonsense climate. A climate where integrity is placed very high. And if you're going to have integrity on a pedestal, it means that you have to lead. Many times in our organizations, you know, we have one discipline for the officers and another for the junior ranks. When the junior ranks commit an abuse, an offense against the regulations, is quickly dismissed and that's communicated. But when somebody, senior up the ladder, commit a similar offense, we circle our wagons, right? Cover up and we protect. That is not the service and protection that we want from police force. And of course, I'm guided by the minister. We're not here to point fingers, but I just want to make a statement that is linked to leadership. And leadership is important not only for the police force, but for every public official in this country. And I said before, integrity is important. And that's why we have in this conference, to deal with issues of integrity. Throughout the Caribbean, like Guyana, we are all developing countries, and all the police forces throughout the Caribbean, all forces, and this is based on my view, they have to deal with issues of corruption. I don't want to define corruption here. I have a lot of things written here, but I want to tell you that your success as a commander for your team, for your division, for your subdivision, adds up to the success of the force in the eyes of the Guyanese society. So if you have one commander who set the bar and is leading and has the right command climate, no nonsense, not accepting or covering up matters that impinges on the integrity of his subordinates, and then we have another commander who is doing something totally different, circling his wagons and covering up. It wouldn't be long before you see the difference in command. And generally the commander who is the no-nonsense commander is the one who will move from sub-divisional commander to divisional commander, right up through the staff, and perhaps the commissioner of police someday. So, upholding integrity has its rewards. You cannot have a climate, and I don't want to be specific here, you cannot have a command culture, command climate, where people are waiting their turn to get into a position, to commit the abuses, to commit the misappropriations. That will not help the force. We have to have a culture throughout the Guyana Police Force where integrity is seen as important for the success of the individual and for the trust and confidence of the force by the wider Guyanese society. So in other words, your enforcement of the SOPs, of the regulations, and creating that climate where integrity is important for the success of your work adds up. And at the end of it, the entire force benefit and the entire Guyanese society benefit from it. You cannot abuse public assets. You cannot misappropriate funds and then want us to excuse it and put it under the carpet, and then somebody will jump up and say, oh, it's political. You know? They're getting at me for political reasons. We are not interested in that. What we are interested in is the Guyana Police Force and the discipline services knowing their role, because it's important that you know your role. You must be well informed. Right? And as leaders, you have to be well informed. Leaders are readers. You heard that before. So you have to be well informed. You must know the SOPs. Right? You must know the regulations if you're going to lead. And you must have integrity if you're going to lead. And trust me, if you are well informed and you have integrity and you're not an implementer, the organization will suffer too. So you have to be informed you have to have integrity, and you must be an implementer. So, for success in your organization, and any organization, you must have the vision, and you must have the implementation, and the 3 I's that I just spelled out. Very important. Any organization to be successful here. The Guyana Defense Force, we came up with our values and standards. I don't want to say that you must follow the values and standards that came up, that we put together for the Guyana Defense Force. But the point I want to make is that the Guyana Defense Force suffer the same challenges like any organization. We were confronted, I'm no longer there, sorry Chief of Staff acting, we were confronted by corruption, we were confronted by challenges, pertaining to cases of lack of integrity, and over time, came up with a set of values and standards. I'm quite certain that you have values and standards in the Guyana Police Force that will serve to guide officers and ranks as they serve, and it's important that you put it into writing and communicate it. Every member of the Guyana Police Force must have a booklet at all times with the values and standards of the Guyana Police Force. If there's a right term. So I'll ask the Commissioner of Police if he could have that. A little booklet. These little books are very important. And many countries that went through transformation came up with little books for their population or for their public officials. So they can read, they can study, they're well informed, and I don't want to say Bible, but it's a guide for them as they serve. Very important. So, today's symposium on integrity, I consider it very important. I'm happy that we have this turnout from the Guyana Police Force. I know you have other presentations. I know the other heads of services are here. They will benefit. But it's very important. If you don't have integrity, your organization will suffer. If you're a leader and you're a good leader, it means that you're a responsible person. Because leadership is about responsibility. And if you're a responsible person and you hold high this whole issue of responsibility, it means that you have integrity. And those around you must uphold that high standard of integrity. It mustn't just be you alone. It must be something that you share with people. Get them on board. When you see they do something wrong, you have to report it. You have to investigate it. Not cover up. Covering up is a culture that will lead to the failure of any organization. We have to expose corruption. And we have to uphold integrity. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time we're scheduled to take a break, but I say it's also the time we take photographs. The photos, I understand, are being taken downstairs in the lobby, so I will invite the President and the heads of services to make their way out first, and then everyone else can do so. we will be restarting at 11 o'clock. Thank you.
Let me go get out of it. Literally,